So you just started out in Ark and don't know what creatures to tame right away. Then here is the list of the top 5 creatures that will help you most in the early game of Ark and are pretty easy to obtain. The criteria of the creatures on the list are overall relatively easy creatures to tame. They are not too hard to find. You can craft their saddle or you can tame them at a reasonable level, so like about level 50 or below, and easy to tame with no gimmicks, so you can easily get your hands on these creatures. Also, I will only be including creatures from Ark Survival Ascended currently in the game, so let's get into it. In the number 5 spot, we're going to have the textbook easy to tame early game creature, the Mosschop. The Mosschop is an easy to tame creature. It is a passive tame. Sometimes they need weird foods such as giant bee honey, and if you see one with giant bee honey, you just typically walk away and find another one. And they are not too hard to find. They're just found pretty much everywhere on the beach. But what makes these creatures such good tames early on is they're pretty good resource harvesters and they're just really easy to tame. Typically you only really tame a Mosschop if they require an easy to tame food to get. This Mosschop needs a Mejoberry, which is really easy to get, and then you put it in the untamed slot and you tame it just like that. They can harvest almost any resource and they're not bad at it either. They also harvest fiber, which some of the other herbivores do not. They also harvest meat and hide, which is pretty nice. They don't do bad damage. For how easy you can get these guys, it is worth the investment. But the only downside of this is they are pretty slow and probably will be a little bit hard to travel to your base. So that's why you could just tame it and just leave it, or do whatever you want with it. But these creatures really help kickstart your resource gathering right away. At number 4, we actually have an underwater creature, which is the Ichthy. But this thing is not to be slept upon, because these things are actually really fast. And for how easy you can get these creatures to, it is pretty good. They only take meat, which is really easy to get. Something nice about Ichthys as well is they will swim right up to you, which is very nice. And just like that, you have an Ichthy that you can ride around them on. The Ichthy saddle is really easy to craft. The only annoying part is you need 10 metal, which actually isn't that hard to get if you just hit river rocks. They are very fast underwater. Now this is like faster than most creatures go on land. So if you plan on building in an area by water, or need to get somewhere fast, the Ichthy is one of your best friends. There's a couple downsides about the Ichthy, is that it's pretty weak, does like no damage, doesn't have much health, but its stamina is pretty good. And I suppose the fact that it cannot go outside of water, but the fact that you can get a really good water tame this early on in the game that goes this fast is pretty dang good, and can help you very fastly move through the early game. At number 3, we have the Iguana. This creature can be a little bit difficult to find, but oftentimes is not that difficult to find. It can be found in beaches and in forests, and it is a knockout tame, so you will need a bow with tranks or a crossbow with tranks, but this is not too hard to knock out because you can bullet it. They also take increased damage to the head, and you should be able to get your Iguana knocked out right away with just one bola without having to chase it around either. These things do take berries, which is very easy to get, but what makes these things really good is the fact that they do not take stamina. Not taking stamina is really huge because you can just run around the map without having to worry about your stamina drain, and they are pretty fast actually. They're not very good berry gatherers, but they can gather berries. But the main reason you want to tame these guys is for the aspect they do not take stamina, because this is a quality no other creatures have. That's what makes them so useful, because they are very easy to tame and you can just move anywhere on the map and without having to worry about stopping at all. Another cool feature about iguanodons, it's not that useful, but all the berries in its inventory you can turn into seeds. But for the aspect alone that it can just infinitely sprint, makes it a really good creature to tame right away. And it is one of your best land options. At number 2, we have the Equis. What makes this tame so good is because it is so easy to tame. If we put berries in the end of our inventory, you just have to walk up behind the Equis, and because it is a passive tame, feed it a berry, and depending on your server's rates, you will have to ride it, but right now I am on instant tame. These creatures are very good because they do not require a saddle, so you can just ride them right away. Even though it makes them take increased damage, you're probably not going to want to attack too many things with it. Another good thing about these is they can knock out all the little creatures with their back kick. Anything early game you want to tame, it comes very easy with the Equis. And you can also destroy pegos if you'd like. It can knock out quite a bit of things. The knockout aspect isn't even the best part about the Equis. It is very fast, you can jump around, and because of how easy you can tame them, this makes them the best land creature that you can tame right away in Ark Survival Ascended. And undoubtedly the best creature you can tame right away in Ark Survival Ascended is the PT. This is one of the fastest flyers in the game, and it is super easy to tame. All you have to do is hit it with a bola, and it's strapped down, shoot it with a trank arrow in the face, once or twice, and it'll be knocked out already. These guys do take meat, which is really easy to get, and it doesn't really matter what level you can get. Once you get a low level one, you can ride on that one and go tame other ones. PTs also spawn almost anywhere on the map, so if you ever lose one, you can tame one right back up. These creatures are obviously so good because you can now go pretty much anywhere on the map. There is a couple downsides, but it is not many for these creatures. They are kind of weak, their saddle is kind of high to unlock, and they cannot be ridden on aberration. It is like a no-brainer to tame these things, and it is way better than the other early game flyers, like the Lymantria or the Tapahara, because the Tapahara is very hard to get up to and tame and not easy to find, and the Lymantria you sometimes will kill it, which is very annoying, and it takes quite a bit of tranks to tame. With the PT, you just shoot it in the face a couple times and then it's knocked out. The PT is also an amazing travel mount because you can barrel roll, pick, fly up to basically wherever your heart desires. The PT is undoubtedly the best starter tame you can get in Ark Survival Ascended. If you like to take the game slow, I'd suggest taming a land creature, but if you're playing PvP, the PT is the way to go. I decided not to include the Iguana because it is behind a paywall, which is not accessible for every player in the game. And if you made it this far, let me know your favorite beginner tame down below. Now, if you enjoyed this video or found this video helpful, please be sure to leave a like or maybe even subscribe, as it really does help me out. And as always, have an amazing rest of your day.